So how are you getting into songwriting then?
Um, by kind of joking around and playing songs at home. I played them for some people. Jabari still loves them because he's like weird. And then, but like, he's like, no, you're so baby here. It was like a lot of like little baby Evanescence S songs too. And I was like, ew. Now that I hear it, I'm like, disgusting. Anyways, but
Yeah, but you have to
no,
evolve from somewhere, right? And
that's true.
yeah, so
But
it's
that's
I think as a fan of music, somebody who's talked to a butt ton of songwriters, I feel like it's important to have those bad songs, right? Those early on songs that you can look back to. That's why you never need to delete them, right?
I haven't deleted them.
Well, you probably
I
won't either, to be fair.
no, but there's still a kill button that I
I feel
might
you.
I haven't decided. There might be,
But
but
I mean, now that you have written really good songs, that's me saying that, not you. Do you sometimes think back to those early days and how much better you have become?
I do. I really think that you're right. I had to get through the bad songs to get to good ones. Like
Right.
that's just the common truth. And I like that I learned more because I used to be really objective in lyrics. And I think, believe it or not, this is gonna sound really, really weird, but I started learning how to project myself into my lyrics a lot more, like when I started writing The Flower and the Serpent and things like that, because I was listening to a lot of pop punk, like just old pop punk stuff, whether it was, Good Charlotte, I was listening to even maybe a few of the modern ones. Like there's this a band called Water Parks that I was listening to at the time. And I was like, "Ah, this guy, I think his name is like Austin Knight." And I was like, how does he like do this? How does he like project? Like I wish I could write in a way that like gives my actual feelings and still poetic. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So, and that's really listening to him and like a lot of the older stuff. I kind of learned to, especially Green Day was thrown in there too, for like just like how do I tell a story while also like still being
Staying
poetic and
within
still
that
have,
genre, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was really really cool, and that I learned that from them, I would say.
And yeah, that's definitely one of my notes here. I love how you're checking off my notes. Because that is definitely something that makes you very unique as an artist, is somebody who's within a rock genre. It really doesn't matter which genre of rock it is, but also showing vulnerability, showing emotion, telling a story. Like that's not necessarily a thing that does well in a rock genre, right?
No, I wouldn't say so, but there are so many people who can do it in such a good way
Absolutely.
that they're definitely worth like paying attention to. And it's not easy. It is kind of like in a way your own mental block as to how you can do it. But
Hmm.
once you get past that, I think everything gets a lot better.
So why, like you obviously know that it's a challenge to be successful in telling a story within your genre. So why is it still important to you to do that?
Um, I think because in truth, the bands that I love do that. And for me, a lot of people like you stated, I guess anyone who knows me knows I was a music fan before music, and,
Sure.
and I try to make sure that I write things that not so much that people can relate to because it's not truly the goal ultimately, but just that they can understand what I'm saying and maybe try, to relate to
Or
it because
feel
if people
something,
get to
right? Like
feel
you want,
something,
yeah, you
they
want them
can
to
feel what
feel.
I'm feeling, you know what I
Right.
mean? In which case, there's a lot of bands that I like look up to that I would call my influences that do that in like the simplest ways. Like Brandon Boyd from Incubus, the way he writes is just, I don't know. This man has the easiest way to write things beautifully, and
Hmm.
he has 1,000 ways to say the word beautiful, or like,
Hmm.
and it's really cool. I also really really like the band 10 Years because Chevelle, bands like that, like
Yeah.
they say their feelings in a way that's very similar to how I try to tell my stories, and I want it to be something that a stands for something in most of the ways, like unless it's like a really angry song, just like kind of explain to people like how to get yourself and lift yourself up out of something. And that's usually where I am. I think that like my songs I write mostly to make myself feel better about something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Therapy.
so
Yeah.
yeah, it's like so for me it's more therapeutic, and I'm just hoping that you hear that in them. And with The Fly and the Serpent, I've been really lucky for a lot of people to come up to me and say, "Hey, I listened to this song, The Bad Moment, and I totally get it." And
Hmm.
so for me, it is a specific thing, but for you, it could be something else. And I love that ability.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Where it's like this helped you through a separate thing than what I was feeling, but you still felt that and were able to carry it on and make yourself feel better
Being
through
able to
it.
resonate in more than one way with the same song, right? Like
Yeah, I try
exactly
to
what you're
do
talking
that.
about. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it basically boils down to, the content you were listening to coming up in music made you feel something. So now as an artist, that's what you're going towards. You want to make people feel something too with your content. Man, I love that. It all comes down to who you're influenced by and all of that stuff. So we talked about Washington D.C. I've never been to the D.C. area when it comes to a music thing, right? So what's the music scene like in D.C.?
So, as someone who's getting back into it for the first time, it's very interesting. I've played a few small shows now, and I'm excited. I'm finally kind of like knocking the dust off. I don't think I've played in like 2 years almost. So, there's definitely pockets of like little metal that I'm trying to like get into, and like because I have newer stuff that's probably a little heavier
Yeah.
that I'm excited about. But for the most part, I do think that it could use a bit more rock in DC itself. I think that I'm finding that a lot of the heavier stuff is like out in like Baltimore, Maryland, or Virginia.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting, and those two areas are not too far either. So, I
Mm-hmm.
was stationed in Norfolk for a while, so I know how close everything is around there. It only takes a couple of hours, one way or the other, to get to a completely different area.